Republicans not doing a good job in stopping Democrats from moving forward their judicial nominations. Politico has an update. They're saying they're not showing up and checking in for attendance. Hello. Where are you, Republicans? Ted Cruz, Mike Braun, they missed votes, allowing Senate Democrats to push forward this judge, Amir Ali. And they confirmed Rebecca Pennell at the Eastern District of Washington, 50-48. Now, the Democrats are in charge, but it's very close because Independent Manchin and Sinema voted against those nominees. Now, if those two, you can see, if Cruz and Braun would have been there, it would have been 50-50, man. And the only person who could have broken that tie would have been Kamala Harris. But she's in Hawaii. She's on vacation, probably getting hammered. Maybe invited Fannie and Nathan over. Senators could revote on the nominees again at a later date in the event of a tie. So if it was a tie, then Kamala would have to get up off her beach chair and mosey on back to the Capitol and come and break the tie. But Republicans are just missing the votes and rolling over on this. Now, Trump came out. He said, hello. Yes, we won, but the first game's not over yet. The Democrats are trying to stack the courts with radical left judges on their way out the door. Says Republican senators need to show up and hold the line. No more judges confirmed before Inauguration Day. Hello. What are you doing? Here's a little bit more. Senate confirms the Biden-picked judge. This is another judge who got confirmed. Embry J. Kidd appeared on Monday. They pushed him through 49-45. Ron DeSantis is very unhappy about this one because he's going to the 11th Circuit. Biden announced 28 judicial nominees. The majority of them have been women and people of color. Chuck Schumer said, after we vote today, I'm going to keep going, baby. I'm going to file additional judges, and we're going to put them on the floor. Biden nominated him. Dick Durbin said he has an amazing record, and so they're just shoving him through. Meanwhile, the Republicans, I don't know what they're doing. I guess they're just hanging out, not stopping the Democrats. Now, even if the Democrats do have the votes, make them earn it. Make them earn it. Don't just take time off and allow them to squeeze these through. Tell Kamala to get off her booty and come back to the Capitol. Now, this is what Rick Scott said about this. Says we need to be a brick wall on this moving forward. And he's not going to be the Senate Majority Leader, but he's on team. Let's slow this thing down, okay?
To be a brick wall to these judicial picks. They're not people that should be judges. They're right at the end of the administration because they've been so controversial. I think all my colleagues are going to show up. We're going to do everything we can. We're going to use every procedural move to make sure that these nominees do not get through. And then Donald Trump will have the choice to pick people that believe in following the law.
Yeah, these are lifetime appointments. They're pretty dang important. And we'd like to see good judges in there, not Democrat judges who they're shoving through at the last minute. So here's Elizabeth Warren. She's saying the same thing, saying, we're going to do this, so get ready for it.
Right now, the most impactful thing we can do is confirm federal judges and regulators who can't be removed by the next president. That is the job of the United States Senate. This is our last remaining window of opportunity to confirm fair, independent judges who will make decisions based on the law instead of listening to special interests.
Yeah.
Senate Democrats cannot leave a single judge behind. Trump won the election, but more than 72 million people voted for Democrats, and they don't expect us to roll over and play dead.
You currently have the power. You're not going to soon. And so the Republicans can make this a bit more difficult, but you can see they lost the election and they're going to try to squeeze everything they possibly can through in the final minutes. Now, today in the Senate, we were supposed to have an important hearing with Christopher Wray and Alejandro Mayorkas, FBI and Homeland. It was scheduled today, and they even had a full press release about it, saying the date was November 21st, 10 a.m., Senate Dirksen building. Now, I was looking at this, and were there any member statements? It was supposed to be a full committee hearing. Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, talking threats to the homeland. Honorable Alejandro, Honorable Christopher Wray, no. And Brett Holmgren, but it's not happening. Isn't that convenient? Holly says, hearing that Chris Wray and Alejandro are trying to cancel a public hearing tomorrow in the Senate and testify only behind closed doors. This is outrageous, said Holly. And that's exactly what happened today, because they can't even show up for scheduled hearings. Here's Fox News reporting.
Welcome back. Quick update. The Senate hearings on the threats to the homeland has been postponed indefinitely. Senator Rand Paul says Mayorkas and Wray are refusing to provide public testimony.
Okay, there you go. They just decide, you know what? No, we're not going to show up. Thanks, though. And that is what the Senate looks like. So Alejandro Mayorkas and Christopher Wray scheduled to be there today. They are not there. This is what C-SPAN has for us. And they've got better things to do than to show up when they've already agreed to do it the day before. They say, no, sorry, it's Thursday. We're going to start our Thanksgiving holiday early. But thanks for playing. We'll see what the Senate does and whether they're able to get these guys in before the election. But I doubt it. They're just going to delay. They've just got 2 months, and then they're going to be asked to resign. So why do they need to go and incriminate themselves right now? They won't do it. These are the people who are supposed to be enforcing the law who are obstructing our own Congress. And the Democrats are in charge of the Senate. They were the ones who scheduled this. They're obstructing themselves because they know that any additional scrutiny is going to be bad for them. And so they're running away because that's who they are. All right, now let's see what's happening in the Middle East, because this was a very explosive story this morning. And you can see the AP was reporting this, telling us an arrest warrant has been issued for Netanyahu and Hamas officials, breaking out of the AP and everywhere. The International Criminal Court published their official statement here that we'll take a look at. But this is what the news is reporting. Netanyahu and many others condemning this. Even Hamas is condemning this arrest warrant. And so we've got Israel and Hamas both mad at the International Criminal Court for arrest warrants, which means this might be the first real shot at peace we've seen in some time. Let's see what the story says. Says the world's top war crimes court issued arrest warrants on Thursday for the leaders of Israel and Hamas. Are they going to make them sit down and hold hands or something? You two are going to sit down and work this out. Benjamin Netanyahu, arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court. Okay, this is not like Fannie Willis issued an arrest warrant. It's the International Criminal Court. All of them charged with crimes against humanity in connection with their war. The warrants against Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant focus on allegations that Israel has used food as a weapon. Israel denies this. Experts have warned that hunger has become widespread across Gaza, and so they've now been charged with a warrant. They say the death toll's 44,000. Their count does not differentiate between civilians. Netanyahu condemned this. He says Israel rejects with disgust the absurd and false actions by the court. In a statement released by his office, he said, there is nothing more just than the war that Israel has been waging in Gaza. The decision turns Netanyahu and others into internationally wanted suspects. Wow. And could further isolate them, as well as complicate efforts to negotiate a ceasefire. But its practical implications could be limited since Israel and its major ally, the United States, are not even members of the court. We're like, we don't care. Now, Israeli leaders, politicians, and officials across the spectrum denounced the warrants. The defense minister, Israel Katz, who replaced Gallant, said this is a moral disgrace. It's entirely tainted by anti-Semitism and drags the international judicial system to an unprecedented low. The warrants against both sides break through the perception, they said in a statement. The court also, where's the Hamas warrants? They're also getting arrested too. They also issued an arrest warrant for Mohammed Deif, head of Hamas's armed wing. It said it found reasonable grounds to believe that he was involved in the murder, the torture, and others that were war crimes. In the Hamas attack, 1,200 eliminated, 250 hostages. Khan withdrew the request for warrants after 2 people were killed. We can't issue warrants for them. They're dead now. Now, they were issued by a 3-judge panel. That's amazing. So, 3-judge panel. The panel said that there were reasonable grounds to believe that they are using food. There were legal briefs. They went through a whole thing. The International Criminal Court is a court of last resort that only prosecutes cases when domestic law enforcement cannot or will not investigate. Israel's not a part of the court. Now, despite the warrants, none of them are likely to face the judges in The Hague anytime soon. That's where Jack Smith came from. So just so you know what kind of entity this is. Member countries are required to detain suspects facing a warrant if they set foot on their soil, but the court has no way to enforce that. Putin has one too. Wow. Still, the threat of arrest now complicates things. What if Netanyahu wants to go to Europe or something? France signaled it could arrest Netanyahu. Whoa, if it came to their territory. Foreign ministry spokesman said it's a complex issue, but said France could support the court's actions. Combating impunity is our priority, he said. Our response will align with these principles. France is going to arrest Benjamin? Israel's opposition leaders fiercely criticized the ICC's move. Benny Gantz, a retired general and rival, said it was moral blindness, called a surprise for terror. Israel now says it puts no limits on the amount of supplies that go in. Lawyers for Israel argued in court that the war was legitimate. And so that's happening. And France is going to get involved? Here's one. Here's their official post now. So this is from the ICC-CPI.international. The situation in the state of Palestine. The ICC pretrial chamber rejects Israel's challenges and issues warrants. This is their building. The chamber ruled on 2 requests. Israel challenged the court's jurisdiction, said we're not even subject to you, you have no jurisdiction. They rejected it. They said we can do that. We exercise our jurisdiction because we have jurisdiction over Palestine. And they issued warrants. Here you go. Crimes against humanity for Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu and Mr. Yoav Gallant. The arrest warrants are classified as secret, but we release the information. With regard to the crimes, the chamber found reasonable grounds to believe that he was born at that date, crimes of starvation, and using food as a weapon of war. Wow, this is interesting. So we know that France, for example, arrested the leader of Telegram, the CEO of Telegram, and he's a high-profile person. So is Benjamin now, and is Israel now going to boycott France? And is this domino effect going to continue? Who else is going to be speaking about this on the global stage? Will other leaders commit to arresting Benjamin Netanyahu? And what will Israel do in response to that? Let's see. If there's anything else that's being reported, here's what Sky News said about all that.
Sky News, we're just going to bring you some breaking news that's come in the last couple of minutes. And as you can see at the bottom of your screen there, that is the International Criminal Court. The ICC has issued arrest warrants for the Israeli leaders, Benjamin Netanyahu, of course, the Prime Minister, and the former Defence Minister Gallant. It has also issued an arrest warrant for the Hamas leader. That news coming in just in the last couple of minutes, that the ICC has issued arrest warrants for different leaders, effectively, in different parts of that conflict in the Middle East. And we'll have more on that story, of course, at midday.
All right, so that's that. We got Newsmax reporting on this. Here's what they said.
International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, his former defense minister, and Hamas officials as well, accusing all of them of war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza. For more, I want to welcome back into the show former Undersecretary of Defense and former Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Robert Wilkie. Mr. Secretary, it's worth noting to our viewers at home that Israel has rejected the jurisdiction of the ICC. The court does not have its own police force to even carry out arrests. So in reality, what does this mean? And can anything really come of this?
Yeah, first of all, this points to the absolute travesty that is the United Nations. If Israel didn't exist, the United Nations would go out of business. The prosecutor, Khan, is a protege of the current Secretary General. There are 124 signatories to the Rome Treaty. In theory, this would mean that of those 124 countries, Benjamin Netanyahu would not be allowed to travel to those countries, including, I think, 25 in Western and Eastern Europe. But let's point again just how sad and ridiculous this is. They say they're even-handed because they issued a death warrant for Mohammed Daouf, of Hamas. He's been dead for quite a while. That's how ludicrous this is. And I think the new Republican Senate will go a long way toward defunding the part of the ICC the funding that comes from U.S. contributions to the world body.
And I just looked it up. Russia, as they've referenced, as a war criminal, also is apparently not a signatory to the ICC. They were originally a signatory, did not ratify it, and then withdrew their name as a signatory to the Rome Statute, which is what ultimately created that body.
That makes sense. What does it say of the ICC to put Netanyahu and known terrorists like Hamas on the same level with these war crimes?
That tells you what the UN is about. I mentioned that if you look at the UN Human Rights Council, 80% of its business is Israel. And this is a council that is dominated by the likes of Venezuela, China, Russia, Iran. The United Nations, forgive me for being blunt, has become a sewer. It is the home for every despot on the planet. It is anti-American. It is anti-West. And the sooner we ignore its pronouncements, I think, the better. And remember, the United States provides, I think, the last time I read this figure, was 45% of the funding for the world body.
Wow.
It's nonsensical. And always remember that a platoon of American soldiers has done more for world peace than all the UN agencies combined. So, that's America. That should be America's statement.
Yeah, and you mentioned the now Republican-controlled United States Senate, and Senator Lindsey Graham just a few minutes ago called out the court, saying it's a dangerous joke and that they should be sanctioned by the Senate. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. We should curtail funding. We should sanction, I think, the likes of the prosecutor and several of these judges. Because remember, they're silent in 7 languages when Russia engages in the mass slaughter of Ukrainians. They say nothing about the Chinese.
Didn't they issue an arrest warrant for him? We just read that.
Imprisoning millions of Muslims in their country. They say nothing about the depredations of the African dictators on their own people. It's usually the United States and Israel. And I remember because I worked for someone who was supposed to be arrested.
Yeah, I think that's a little off because they said Russia, who is wanted on an arrest warrant, recently visited Mongolia, and he was not arrested. All right, so they did issue an arrest warrant for Putin. All right, you can see what we've got cooking there. All right, so arrest warrants issued, probably mostly meaningless, other than a political tool. That being said, it certainly feels like things are escalating in this region because now you have a conversation about leaders being arrested when they land to do diplomatic things in other countries. So don't know that's actually useful. Do they think that they're going to arrest Netanyahu and put him in custody? Is that what the plan is? And that you think that's going to go over well? All right. So International Criminal Court, as usual, a bunch of political hacks causing more harm than good by, in this case, angering everybody. Hamas is upset about it. Netanyahu's upset about it. Maybe they'll come together and engage in a unifying peace thanks to the ICC because everybody dislikes them equally. All right, so let's see what you say about all this, my friends. It's a beautiful morning.